The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes. And
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Recently, Israeli military personnel intercepted a flotilla of ships headed towards Gaza. The world outcry has been deafening, as it has also been misplaced. The Israelis have been portrayed as committing violence in order to prevent food and humanitarian supplies from reaching women and children in the crowded Palestinian community of Gaza. Yes, that would certainly be an outrage if that's what was going on. But the actions taken by Israel are aimed only at preventing rockets from being shot into Israel, not denying food or medicine to the Palestinians. The image in the public's mind is totally distorted. And what the world needs to do is take a closer look at what's being presented to them. Even Al Jazeera, the most prominent Arabic TV news station, could not block out the reality of so-called activists, peace activists, who were really thugs attacking Israeli soldiers with lead pipes and clubs. The soldiers are seen refraining from using their weapons as they watch fellow troopers being beaten into a bloody pulp and lying on the ground, their lives in danger. Well, who first initiated violence, the violence that we're talking about, is not in question. Even Al Jazeera could not hide that fact. Yet, photos of the wounded and dead who ended up, and these were wounded and dead activists, after they had started beating to death Israeli soldiers, and thus force was being used in order to protect these soldiers' lives. Well, only these pictures of wounded and dead so-called peace activists were highlighted in reports of this incident. This distortion is intended to deceive the people of the world. The so-called activists created the violence that erupted when the flotilla was intercepted for inspection. Now, apologists will simply say that those pipe-wielding thugs were justified because the Israelis should never have stopped and interdicted those ships aimed at giving humanitarian supplies to the people of Gaza. Well, why was that inspection necessary? Never stop asking that basic question. Why was it necessary for that inspection? They weren't stopping the supplies. They were simply inspecting the cargo. Why are the Israelis insisting on inspecting the ships going to Gaza? Because Palestinian territory is being used to launch thousands of rockets and artillery at civilian communities in Israel from Gaza. Now, the purpose of the flotilla was not to put food and humanitarian aid in the hands of the Palestinian women and children. That would have happened anyway. Because the Israelis, they just wanted to inspect this and then let that food and humanitarian supplies go forward. No, that wasn't the purpose. The purpose of the flotilla was to prevent Israel from stopping the missile attacks on Israeli women and children by preventing Israel from interdicting weapons shipments into Gaza with those humanitarian aid as a cover. No, when these missile attacks from Gaza are by anybody's definition a terrorist attack. If the Palestinians want food and humanitarian supplies and the rocket attacks, Israel would be very happy if that happened to let any food and humanitarian aid go into Gaza. And this is not an unreasonable demand on the part of the Israelis to at least inspect the cargoes in order to ensure that they're not being used to cover up the shipment of weapons that are being used to kill Israeli citizens. If you are launching explosive projectiles into Israel, Israel has a right to take a look at what you're shipping into your country to make sure you're not shipping in those items that are necessary to shoot these things into Israel and kill women and children. So in reality, the so-called peace were not victims at all. They were belligerent, they were hostile, they were seeking more killing in the form of not only just killing these Israeli soldiers, trying to inspect their ships, but killing more Israeli civilians through rocket attacks. They also, of course, are not just killing innocent people, they are undermining any chance for peace and reconciliation between the Palestinian people and the Israeli people. No, those so-called peace activists were the villains in this situation, and those Israeli troopers who tried to at least inspect it to see that rockets were not being smuggled in, they were the heroes of the day. The world needs to seek truth in this issue and ignore the distorted picture they're being presented.
Gentleman's time is expired. Under the Speaker's